Hello friends, welcome to ToyCafe. I am your host, and in this video we have this little library dollhouse that I put together from scratch all by myself, and I want to show it to you and how I put it together, so let's have a look. So first of all, I started with a drawing, and when I do things from scratch I like to start with a life-size drawing that I can then photocopy and use as a guide for all the pieces that I need to cut. So here I'm cutting out bits, and I'm using the drawing as a guide to cut out this 1/4 inch styrofoam, and that way it just makes it easier for me to get things cut out and put together nicely. So that's to start with, and we're starting with a window in the back wall here. This view is a bay in India, actually. I don't remember which one, but it's famed for its view. I wonder if anyone will recognize that. And for the textures, the pictures of wood and so on that I put on the floor, I just found something online, printed it out on my printer, and glued it on, and it came out pretty nice. I especially wanted a somewhat dull appearance to the floor, so the printer worked out pretty well. This is some cardstock and some pieces of foam for reinforcement to make the main arch for the window. And I just topped it off with some veneer that is really thin wood, and you can find that at most hardware stores. And in this case I used cherry veneer, which is why it has that sort of reddish look to it. It looks pretty nice, I think. Now I would do something different here if I was doing this again. I would make the arch actually extend all the way into the wall this time, instead of stopping just short. That way it would be much easier to match the window into it instead of having it slightly off the way it is. But live and learn. And here I'm putting together some of the bookshelves themselves, and they are just more foam and some more veneer to cover them up, make them look nice. A little bit tricky getting them just the right size, but it worked out pretty well, I think. And now I'm adding some crown molding. This is really just a single strip of veneer. In reality, crown molding is very complex shaped and takes a little bit to install, but this looks pretty good for the size. And now I'm using some spacers. I wanted to get my shelves nice and straight and evenly spaced, so I cut a single piece of wood, a constant width, and then cut it into smaller pieces. And that became the spacers for my shelves. So now they're all the same width apart, and they're nice and straight with the bottom. And it worked out. Here I'm using some Mod Podge, some glossy Mod Podge, to just give all of the cherry a nice finish look, like it was finished in some sort of lacquer and has a little bit of gloss to it. On second go through, I might do this before I glue everything down. It would have made life a lot easier, because I ended up getting a little bit on the floor, and because Mod Podge is water-based, it smeared the ink, and it didn't look too bad. It looked like somebody had spilt some wine there on the floor at one point, so I put a wine bottle next to it, and it worked out pretty well. Just making a little cushion here for the window seat. Nothing too complex, just some folding and some gluing. We're adding in a little basket, a little flower. These are very common and easy to find. We made lots of those with all the different dollhouses that we put together, so nothing too complex there. And now we're adding in the books. And this is where I think the importance of telling a story really comes into play with your kits. And it may just look like a bunch of books, and you just slap them in, glue them down, and you're done. Or you can take the time to really consider why they're there, what kind of books are they, what kind of person owns these books, and what do they do with them, and how do they treat them. And so what I've done is I've organized them by what I would say is type. So these are more encyclopedic reference books kind of things. They are very stodgy and no-nonsense non-fiction books. And this kind of person really likes fiction more than anything. She has some non-fiction books because she does need to look things up from time to time. And as you can see, she has used those ones on the end a few times. They look very exotic, maybe books from some other country. Yeah, but otherwise they're all very upright and straight. They don't get used very often. So that tells a little bit of a story there. Now we have a coffee can being used to hold up these books here. That's another thing you need to consider, is what's holding up your books? What's holding up your lamp or your table or whatever. Because we can do things that are physically impossible in the real world. We can just glue something down and it can be at an impossible angle, but with nothing holding it up, it just doesn't look real to the eye. So here we have the coffee can holding things up. Here we have the leaning book on the other side holding the other side. Yeah, and it just gives more to the whole presentation and makes it look more realistic. Even if you don't notice it, it's just something in your eye that will pick up on those sort of things, and even if you can't place it, you'll notice that it looks off. Here also, I decided to put these great big books lying down because I like the idea that whoever this person is, they had a whole bunch of books already when they got these great big books and these maps, and instead of moving their shelf around to accommodate the new big books, they just decided to put them sideways because they just didn't have the space. Yeah, so this is a lived-in library. And some more books going in there. There's a lot of books going in here, so settle in. Yeah, and here again, I'm thinking about how these books are used. And so these ones are going up nice and straight, but they're starting to kick out just a little bit at the bottom. And maybe a little bit more there. We'll continue on with more of these. And this is going to create the idea that the person using this bookshelf is pulling books out of the middle here and there just because they want to read this one, but they're not straightening up all the other books. So one was pulled out right there, and so those books will be leaning over, and then there'll be another one farther down, and that simultaneously explains why the books aren't falling over the other way, because those ones on the end are all nice and straight, but also gives the idea that this person is using their library on a frequent basis. They're pulling books out, they're reading them, they're putting them back. They may not be the tidiest because they're not straightening up all the other books after they pull one out, but still they got them nice and neat and protected. Yeah, that's the idea there. And they have lots of books. In fact, they have a few too many books because they want to dedicate the top shelves to their little knickknacks and things, but little books keep finding their way up there as well. Yeah, we got quite a stack up there. Yeah. All of these books I made by hand by printing out the covers from various paperbacks. I just downloaded the pictures. You can find hundreds online. And then I resized them, printed them out, and then wrapped them around bits of paper. Yeah, and they came out pretty good. The paperbacks are especially nice. So to contribute to the idea that this person owns way too many books, there is a big old pile here on the floor as well. These are the books she just finished reading or is about to read. I'm not sure. We'll get that cushion in there because we also want to make a nice quiet place to read, a nice homey place. So there's a little bottle of wine there because this person definitely reads at night, and a cup of coffee because they read in the morning, and some cushions as well, so that it's nice and comfy looking, not like they're leaning up against the hard wall or anything. They got lots of pillows to lay down on or sit against. Yeah, and they have the natural light coming in through the window there as they read. Of course, they have an iPhone. It is modern times, just not the past. And they have a stack of books as well on the little window bench there because they're reading 3 or 4 books at a time. Yeah, and some nice fluffy slippers. These are supposed to be really fluffy, almost crocheted slippers. Yeah, and a little kitty has already taken up residence because it's a nice, comfortable spot to be. So you can see the details there, the various knickknacks and so on, and how the books keep invading that space. Yeah, this is a really someone who just adores the reading and books themselves and the whole paper printed method. And I mean, they're in the present times. They have all the alternatives, but they still like to hold that book in their hands and read from the pages, turn the pages by hand. Yeah, that's the story I tried to tell with this particular little dollhouse anyways. Yeah. So I hope you found that enjoyable. And if you want to consider helping to support these videos and to help support seeing more of them, please consider subscribing and hitting the little bell. And also I have some Amazon links down the bottom. If you want to click one of those, it'll take you to Amazon where you can buy different supplies that I use, or if you just want to click one and buy anything at all, it'll help me out and kick a few cents back my way so I can keep making these videos for you. Well, thank you for watching, and bye for now.